Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Cricketwala Chronicles with Ayaz Memon.
Hi, this is Pooja from the Fan Garage, and you're listening to the Cricketwala Chronicles with Ayaz, a brand new sports show that talks about cricket, and more cricket. And, of course, whilst we're discussing the revolutionary new format in cricket known as T20, we talk about the inaugural World Cup back in 2007. Of course, let's not forget, India was the last country to enter into the tournament, and that too missing the big four of Indian cricket. Let's talk more about this new format and this magical tournament. Let's relive some of the biggest highs and get to know more about it from none other than Ayaz.
Thanks, Pooja. So, look, I think your introduction says a lot about what I thought I would have said. But the fact remains that 2007 was a big year as it emerged in the sport. The 2007 50-over World Cup was actually a disaster.
To say the least.
Because India got knocked out, Pakistan got knocked out in the first stage itself, and the biggest audiences are in the Indian subcontinent. So there was a sense of despair in the sport.
And even from an event and an organizational perspective, a lot of logistical hassles, poor organization overall. So
yes.
ICC was clearly coming on the heels of a disastrous World Cup.
Yes, and also what we discussed last time is that the appeal of Test cricket, even one-day cricket, was kind of waning, and administrators were looking at other options. What could be done with this sport? How do you get audiences back, especially the young people who were migrating to other sports? I think that was the biggest challenge ahead for the administrators. So the T20 format came into being in 2004, but a World Cup in 2007 was actually put, fast-tracked. And as we spoke last time, that India was the last cricket board to agree. In fact, Niranjan Shah, who was one of the senior administrators then and still is a key administrator
in the BCCI,
BCCI, said T20 cricket, we'll never play it.
We'll never play it, yes, absolutely.
I mean, that was the position the BCCI had vis-a-vis the T20 game. And, I mentioned this last time, but I want to reiterate that whenever some such situation has arisen, it seems that the BCCI was very stodgy or has been very stodgy and wants to kind of put a roadblock rather than go ahead. It's also because I think, one was the legacy that existed in cricket, that, the Marylebone Cricket Club or the English Cricket Administration, along with the Australian administration, would ride roughshod over all the other boards. And once the BCCI became all-powerful, it did not want to be kind of rolled over so easily.
Correct.
So they always wanted to be either part of the initial decision-making or the decision makers.
Right.
And if that didn't happen, then they would take a very recalcitrant position. I think that was the situation then. But everything changed in the 2007 World Cup, as we know.
Yes.
Because the way the tournament panned out, and frankly, living in India, I mean, maybe people had some experience in England of T20 matches, or even in Australia or New Zealand, where it was played a couple of matches. But in India, nobody had a clue. The only clue we had was 4 of our major players didn't go.
Not going.
So therefore,
how could you have a Cricket World Cup minus the big four? I mean, no Sachin on the field in a World Cup.
No Sachin, no Dravid, no Lakshman, no Ganguly.
Correct, yes.
And therefore, the impression amongst Indian cricket followers was that, this is theek hai, chalta hai, this is one more tournament.
One more cricket tournament.
Yeah, and we don't even know how good it'll be. And I don't think that the administrators or the BCCI made the right kind of noises about it either.
Correct.
But we live in a different age. I mean, imagine if the same thing had happened 50, 60 years earlier, we would never have been able to understand, how this format kind of, the explosive power of this format. But it's because we saw it live. We saw it happening in front of our eyes because of the television, broadcast.
Yes.
It just completely transformed the cricket world, because what we saw was something that kept us glued to our TV sets.
And it set off right from the launch of the World Cup itself, isn't it? I mean, like I spoke earlier on, I remember being at the launch of the 2007 World Cup. It happened at the Dome in Joburg, and it was just unthinkable. I mean, you couldn't imagine that you were there at the launch of a mega cricket World Cup.
It looked like a rock concert.
You know, there were trapeze artists swinging from one end to the other. There was cheerleaders in skimpy clothes, and we all know the land of fun that South Africa is.
Yeah.
I mean, fun, frolic, excitement, adventure. And guess what? The team captains, they rode in the riding pillion on these hunky Harley Davidsons that just roomed in that dome. And it was just unthinkable. Like, was that really Dhoni sitting on a Harley Davidson, or was that the other team captain? I mean,
I understand he's got a couple of Harley Davidsons now. Maybe it started from there.
Perhaps, yes. Apart from everything else that changed for Dhoni with that first World Cup win in 2007.
So Pooja, you're so right. But what I think emerges is clearly that this was not just a cricket event. There was an impresario at work who created a whole kind of universe around the T20 format just to make sure that the first impact leaves everybody bowled over.
Yes, and I mean, clearly they needed to walk the talk and say that if it was meant to be a fun format of the game, they needed to prove it and show it. So.
And the audience, the target audience, I think the key factor is they obviously did their research very well.
Yes, absolutely.
They came up with some hard figures, facts. The research threw up certain measures that they had to take, and they went and did it. I think now when you look
Which
at it,
today now is commendable that they followed it to the T.
It's magnificent. That means they did the right job, because after that, subsequently in the last 8-9 years, not much has changed. The approach remains still the same. The razzmatazz, the brouhaha around the T20 format, the cheerleaders, and the color and the gloss and the glamour is still pretty much the formula that is being used now, even 8-9 years later.
Right.
For them to have thought of it then and gone and executed the way they did, I think is highly commendable. I think it was magnificent.
And even that, the other innovations they brought in terms of the ticket pricing.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember that the league stages, the tickets were priced at 20 rands, and the group stages it went on to 40 rands a match. And that too, if it was a double-header game, which in itself was an innovation for cricket.
Correct.
Never before had we had double headers, 2 matches in a day. In fact, on some days there were 3 matches being played concurrently in Joburg, Durban and Cape Town. So, a cricket fan could get to see 2 matches for the price of 1 ticket.
Yes.
If they were played out at the same venue, which also happened. So those kinds of innovations were really unique to cricket as a sport. And, I think clearly South Africa as the host destination for the first World Cup, they just sort of set the power.
So when you look back, I think, even getting South Africa to host it was an inspired move. The reason being that I'm talking now, when I say we, I mean the Indian audiences and, the subcontinent, which forms about 80% of the global cricket audience. We'd seen enough of cricket being played in England and in Australia, but not enough in South Africa.
Right.
For us, this was a new spectacle. And like the Aussies, the South Africans have been very adventurous. Even in their domestic cricket, where the sport is concerned, they've not been conservative like say the English have been.
Right.
Or even the New Zealanders could be.
They're a bit more sort of progressive and open-minded when it comes
and also,
to...
they were also driven by this kind of apprehension that, look, cricket is not the biggest sport in South Africa. It's football, then there's golf, there's rugby, there's athletics, which is far, all of these sports were far bigger than cricket. Cricket was not played by the vast majority of the population. Now, how do you keep the people still engaged? It was a challenge for them also, So I think this was an experiment where they were as interested in making it successful for the survival of their domestic cricket, rather not just the World Cup, So it was a 2-in-1 challenge for them also.
Correct. And yet, in fact, the first match, it wasn't an India match, of course. West Indies and Chris Gayle hit 100, was it, in the opening match?
Opening match. Hit the first ball of the match for a 4.
Yes.
Made the first 100 ever in a T20 international.
Yes.
And guess what? West Indies lost the match.
And even then, I'm sure there were skeptics, sitting pretty plumb, thinking that, okay, this ain't going to work, but let's just live with it for the next 13 days.
I think the real turnaround, where people got transfixed onto what's happening. I mean, there was curiosity, cheergirls, cheerleaders. We've never seen something like this in India, certainly.
Yeah.
And, a lot of...
And not at a cricket stage.
Not at a cricket stadium. There was a lot of blushing, a lot of people elbowing each other and saying, pata nahi kya kar raha hai, maybe they'll ruin the game.
Right.
And stuff like that. But I think the turning point came in the match between India and Pakistan, the first time they met. India-Pakistan always big interest.
Is always with big interest,
And
lot of tension.
this match went into the super over.
Which was again an unthinkable format and innovation in cricket.
I mean, who would have ever thought of a super over in a cricket match?
Yes.
I mean, you've heard of penalty shootouts in hockey and football.
Correct, yeah.
And suddenly to have a situation where the scores are tied and the match is to be decided by 1 over,
Yeah.
and 1 over where there's no batsman.
Right.
It's just, in those days, the super over didn't have a batsman. It was just the bowlers.
Just the bowlers, yes.
And you had to ask 6 different people to come and bowl.
A delivery each, yes.
and try and hit the stump.
Right.
That was the super over. And in that, Pakistan, which was considered to have a better attack than India, actually just, went and bombed.
Yeah.
Very badly. And that match, because India won, India beat Pakistan. India beat Pakistan in the super over.
Super over, yes.
And the super over suddenly became the talking point. Of course, India beating Pakistan
is big enough, in itself.
It just kind of took interest levels in the World T20, the 2000 World T20 to, dizzy levels, at least with the subcontinent.
Especially from India and the subcontinent.
And look, once India gets engaged so heavily because of the, crores and crores of eyeballs, the rest of the world gravitates. We've seen that happen later, as we will talk. When the IPL started, it was not involving the rest of the cricket boards except for the players coming here.
Right.
But the minute the IPL became as big as it was, then suddenly you found that there are commentary teams in England doing commentary on the IPL, in Australia, or in West,
Likewise,
or wherever.
all networks then wanted to capitalize on it.
Right. So this is what happened with the World T20 in 2007. The first match, actually, I remember Chris Gayle making a century, West Indies losing the match, and there was a lot of, kind of ha, hoo, he saying, "Ye kya format hai? What is this format all about?" The guy makes 100. It's a lottery, it's a fluke, and there's nothing to talk about where cricket merit is concerned. That was the argument used against T20 when the West Indies lost the first match.
Right.
Then came this humdinger, a tied match. A tie is in any case a rarity, even in limited overs cricket.
Yes.
I mean, it's more frequent than in test matches,
right,
but a rarity. And then you have a tied match which is resolved. It's not left as a tie. Somebody has to win. And it's resolved through a super over in which India beats Pakistan and all hell breaks loose, so to speak.
To put it mildly. But do you
That was the trigger.
That was the trigger for the tournament, for the format. Clearly, I mean, it had all of us hooked. But what's interesting is how the rest of the tournament then played out, really, isn't it? Because it was short and snappy.
Yes.
And compared to the World Cup, which happened in West Indies, which had a 9-day break in between, I think people were just relieved that this tournament was not as long as they had just come back.
I think the contrast, you're right, the contrast with the 50-over World Cup, which had been played 4, 5, 6 months earlier, was so stark in the excitement quotient,
right,
so to speak, as well as some key teams doing well. So, for instance, India doing well is integral to the success of a tournament, as we know now.
Absolutely, yeah.
And India fizzled out very early in the 50-over tournament. So did Pakistan. The high point of the 50-over World Cup was, the unfortunate demise of Bob Woolmer.
Yes, sadly. And that's what that event is remembered for.
It overtook everything else that happened in the World Cup.
Correct.
So a shift from there, a dramatic shift, a change in format, teams that, and actually when India and Pakistan both went for the World T20, neither of the two teams were favourites.
I mean, India went as rank outsiders, of course.
The favourites were actually Australia and South Africa.
Right. I mean, look at the Indian team. The Ajit Akarkar was the oldest player at 29.
Correct.
We had 5 players under 25. It
was a very young team.
Yes.
And Dhoni himself was a surprise choice as a captain, so to speak.
Correct.
I think what worked in his favour then was a lot of good things had been said about him by the man who had actually been asked to leave Indian cricket or left it of his own volition, which was Greg Chappell.
Mm-hmm.
In the year and a half, 2 years that he was coach of the Indian
team, yeah.
He consistently talked of 3 or 4 players. So, for instance, Suresh Raina, who he thought very highly of.
Yes.
And MS Dhoni, he said this man comes and talks to me about every aspect of the game. He was very impressed with him from his wicket keeping, from his fitness, and for his curiosity. And remember, Dhoni is anything but orthodox. In his wicket keeping, in his batting, and as he emerged later, even in his thinking.
And he's not scared to experiment either.
Even in his thinking, he's completely unorthodox.
Correct.
And the kind of things he did on the field in the 2007 World Cup, now we've come to expect Dhoni to do the unexpected. It can happen. But in those days, it was, a lot of critics were tearing their hair. And saying, what the hell is going on? What is this man up to?
Right.
So but all added to the the excitement and the charm and the what I call the the quotient of mystery to the World Cup as to what is going to happen in the next match. That really stoked the excitement in the tournament.
We'll continue our chat on the Cricketwala Chronicles right after this break.
Rants, crazy conversations, absurd questions, and everything in between. Cyrus Says is the podcast where I, Cyrus Brocha, let loose and talk to interesting people from across different walks of life. People who are available, actually, not more than that. Catch new episodes every Monday on iTunes, Audio Boom, or the all-new IVM Podcast app. Happy listening, but only for a few minutes.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Cricketwala Chronicles with Ayaz. This is Pooja from the Fan Garage. From the India-Pakistan game, what was India's journey like in the rest of the games? And do you think it all really boiled down to India's success in that tournament, for the tournament to be successful? Would T20 have been just as big today if India hadn't won the first World Cup? That remains a question I'd really...
I would think that it would have. The format has massive appeal, but it may have taken longer. It could have been, maybe 8-10 years down the road. We don't know. One can only speculate. But seeing the massive popularity of T20 cricket, I'm not, there's no reason to believe it wouldn't have become popular. But it took off like a supersonic rocket,
Yeah.
So
it just didn't give anybody any time to breathe,
correct.
Register, sink in, soak in. I remember when the final was played on 24th September, and this is really interesting. I was the media manager at the ATP event in Mumbai. It was the second edition of the tournament in Mumbai. And, Mumbai, India was hosting an ATP event after 10 years.
Yeah.
Up until then, it was only the Chennai Open which happened. And that was the first day for the Mumbai event. Matches started in the evening, but of course it was the day of the finals. And as with any cricket, it can be a gully cricket match and people will,
stop and see.
And this, of course, was a World Cup final.
Yeah.
People hadn't yet, at least from the media's perspective, they hadn't yet begun to take it so seriously. But India reached a final, you have to sit down and notice. No journalist from the media centre, ironically, the venue for the Tennis Open was the CCI, the Cricket Club of India, nonetheless. No journalist from the media centre, Ayaz, wanted to get up and come and watch the matches being played on centre court. Everyone was glued to the TV screen in the media centre, and on demand, it was only the T20 World Cup match that was being played. Even then, look at the lack of interest.
Yeah.
India won the match. They said, okay, great, we won the match. That's it. Fact is that victory and that format hadn't yet sunken in to anybody. I think it was only that victory parade that we saw in Mumbai, which brought the city to a halt. And I think it was imperative for the BCCI to hype up that victory, considering they were the last ones.
I would differ from you there. So a few things happened. For instance, India's passage through the tournament after beating Pakistan in the super over. Mm-hmm. You had some great matches, and the match against England where Yuvraj Singh hit 6 sixes in an over.
Yes.
We lost to New Zealand.
Yeah.
So suddenly after beating Pakistan in the super over, India had become a major force, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because beating Pakistan was a big event in itself, and then other teams started losing. Australia was not doing as well. South Africa was struggling a bit. These were the two favourite teams.
Right.
New Zealand came on to beat India, and then suddenly they became a strong favourite. And remember, New Zealand have always been a good limited overs team.
And then, as with the format, it's always an open-ended game. You never know which way it's heading.
But the second trigger, I think, was the 6 sixes hit by Yuvraj Singh against England of young Stuart Broad, who was much younger then. Yes. And look, just hitting 6 sixes in over is a mega event. It's a big event. It's not happened so frequently in cricket, certainly not at the first class level or higher.
Yes.
So Sir Garfield Sobers against Malcolm Nash, 68, Ravi Shastri against Tilak Raj at the Wankhede.
Right.
Then Herschel Gibbs, that same year, in 2007,
yes, of
against
course.
Holland.
How can we forget that one? Yes.
Against Holland, he hit 6 sixes in the World Cup. And then here was Yuvraj Singh, and very young Yuvraj Singh, very flamboyant, very... he was a star already.
By himself. Yes.
And a power hitter.
Correct.
And, he was pretty much the toast of a young India.
In fact, when MS was announced as the captain for this young squad, a lot of eyebrows were raised, wasn't it? Because Yuvraj was a much more experienced...
Well, there were other contenders. There was Virendra Sehwag.
Right.
There was Harbhajan Singh. There was Gautam Gambhir.
Correct.
A couple of them, Yuvraj was also his senior, so to speak, because Dhoni started playing only in 2004.
Right.
So, but Yuvraj Singh coming into his own, 6 sixes in an over raises excitement fever pitch.
Correct.
It takes,
I mean, it's as exciting as
and
it
when
can
it
get.
is live. And see, one of the things which worked, I think, also in favor of the tournament was it was not played in New Zealand where you have to wake up at 4 o'clock in the
Yes,
morning
of
and
course,
watch.
the timing was crucial.
The timing was crucial.
Yes.
And it was like almost prime time in India. So, the attention was riveted onto the World Cup after India beat Pakistan super over in the first match. Then comes this match, and then it kind of whips up such a frenzy because suddenly now you say India can beat Pakistan in the super over, and here's Yuvraj Singh hitting 6 sixes in one over.
In one over.
So India,
Anything can happen, frankly.
no, not just anything can happen. India can possibly win the title.
Yeah.
And then as the tournament kind of plays out, as it transpires, the two teams which meet in the final are again India and Pakistan.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't think of a better script to be played out for a tournament.
Tournament that's debuting with a new format.
Absolutely. You might remember the kind of excitement there was India versus Pakistan playing the semi-final in the 2011 World Cup.
Yes, of course.
50-over World Cup.
Correct.
At Mohali.
Yeah.
I mean, the subcontinent had come to a standstill.
It came to a halt.
It came to a halt.
Yes.
So the 2007 World Cup, you can imagine when these two teams reaches the final, what the situation may have been. Because the format was, we were not familiar with the format. Suddenly you were found to be so good that you're in the final. So a lot of these things just worked, and basically the interest level in the T20 extended beyond your usual suspects, cricket followers.
Yeah, it brought in a lot of new audiences into the game. Yes.
So there were, women, there were kids and
Families, actually.
Families,
yes.
and there was so much pageantry about it. You see, cricket otherwise is a state sport played by people dressed in white.
Right.
And ODI cricket was played under floodlights and with coloured clothing. But, the tradition still prevailed. Here, there was a breakthrough or a breaking down of everything that was held as essential to cricket.
Correct.
Or even the surround sound around cricket had changed completely.
Yes.
And you're in the final. And in the final, you're playing Pakistan again. So I think that, everybody was waiting with bated breath for that 3.5 hours to kind of play out. And it was amongst the most dramatic 2 sessions of play that have been there in modern contemporary cricket.
And in the in the 50-over World Cup that had just been India's debacle performance and the public outrage to each one of the cricket players. I mean, I remember there was morchas outside players' houses and things were demolished.
I think stones were thrown at
Stones
Dhoni's house.
Yes, absolutely. And coming on the heels of that kind of a performance, for India to reach a final, beat Pakistan, and everything else that happened through the tournament.
Yes.
I think it was just...
So this was a dream script.
Yes.
And especially look at it from the cricket administrator's point of view. There's one point of view which is the fans. And since India and Pakistan fans constitute about 70-75% of the global spectatorship for the game.
That's what makes cricket a global game.
Correct.
It doesn't matter that it's only 12 or 14 countries that play it.
So India and Pakistan involved in the final means, it's a box office bonanza.
Absolutely.
And then look at it from the administrator's point of view, or the ICC. They've suddenly hit on a winner, unimagined. Whatever research you do and however hard the evidence that you get, unless things play out the way it did, you are still uncertain as to where this tournament might go, or whether this format will even work.
Exactly.
And
in fact, they were quick enough to launch this tournament because they were feeling threatened that if they didn't have the first mover advantage, some other international billionaire businessman could launch something of his own.
So yes, you're absolutely right. So cricket is also a little vulnerable in the sense that the cricket federations, except maybe in, maybe nowhere, I think, they're not run by the government.
They're private bodies.
They're private bodies.
Right.
So while...
It's a public sport.
Yeah, it's a public sport, but while there might be the government or the Prime Minister or the President as the patron, but these boards are private bodies.
Right.
Whether it's the ECB or the BCCI.
All of them for that matter, yes.
So PCB will have the President of Pakistan as the patron, or Sri Lankan Cricket Board will have.
Correct.
But there is nothing to stop a private entrepreneur from coming and saying, I'm going to start it happened with Kerry Packer.
It happened with Kerry Packer, exactly. And even at the time of the T20, when this whole new format was taking shape, wasn't it Alan Stanford who was planning to launch a $20 million prize money match?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So there were threats from everywhere.
Correct.
Including we talked about the ICL last time.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I mean, it's a matter of weeks that, you know, the World T20 happened, and look, even the IPL was announced after the ICL.
Right.
So World T20, for it to become successful and therefore, in a sense, appropriate the agenda for the International Cricket Council was very, very important, and this just
Set the tone in the
it
best
couldn't have been
possible way.
better.
It couldn't have been better.
It couldn't
You're
have been
right.
better.
You're
India
right.
going out there and beating Pakistan in the final of the inaugural World T20 just took it to a completely different level. You know, it just hit another stratosphere.
And that victory parade, man. I mean,
No, first was the final.
Yeah.
I mean, a very, very tense match. And, you know, India winning in the last
India-Pakistan
over.
is anyways a tense match, and you add the word final to it.
And the last over finish in the final, and remember, it almost slipped out of India's hands because of the way Misbah-ul Haq was batting.
Yeah.
He took the battle into the Indian camp, and he had, you know, he was 8-9 years younger, but Misbah has been a terrific player for Pakistan and a great striker of the ball. Somebody who used to build up his innings gradually.
Right.
Even in T20, he's not the kind of guy who used to come and start hitting from ball one.
Yeah.
So he played himself in, and suddenly he unleashed those big shots in the last 2-3 overs, and it looked like India might lose the match.
Yeah, I mean, it was 5 needed from the last 4 balls, wasn't it?
Exactly.
And Misbah he took a slow sweep, and it was, you know, just our luck. Srishant was there to take a safe catch.
But just our luck. But look at what Dhoni had done. He had given the ball to Jogendra Sharma
yeah.
to bowl the last over.
Yes,
It was
yes.
unthinkable.
All right.
You know, and look, everybody was flummoxed. I must confess, so was I.
Right.
I don't think there was a soul in the cricketing universe who would have said,
That was the right thing to do.
I think brilliant move by Dhoni. I think, you know, they were all short of expressing their dismay and disgust at what he has done, because how could Jogendra Sharma prevent Misbah-ul Haq from winning this match? But hey, you know what happened? He tried to hit it over his shoulder
Yeah.
to clear a short fine leg
Yes.
on the circle.
Right.
And Srishant, who's now going to become a politician or has become a politician standing
Yes.
for elections,
Yes.
he was there waiting for the catch, and he took the catch, and then again, you know, the entire country erupted. Not
Right.
just what happened
On the field there, yes.
And remember, that was the time when Shah Rukh Khan's movie Chak De had released.
Yes, yes.
So that song used to play all the time.
It was like
Chak
the
De,
song of the
It
tournament.
became the anthem of the tournament.
Yes.
And the one of the sights that one remembers is Shah Rukh Khan was there.
Yeah.
And Harbhajan Singh lifting him in his arms. And I think it was a terrific win. For the closeness of the match, for the fact that it was an India-Pakistan contest,
Yes.
for what had happened earlier in the tournament,
Right.
beating them in the super over.
In the super over, yes.
So Pakistan had another chance. Revenge is always sweet. They
Always,
had another chance.
exactly.
And
And
beating India in the final would have been, you know.
Sweet revenge indeed.
But I think, Pooja, the way that match played out and the drama we saw and the kind of edge of seat excitement, I really don't think that one should say that, you know, there was a loser in that match, because both teams actually won. The sport won. T20 cricket became part of our, you know, the psyche, so to speak. Yes, there are detractors and there are good reasons why a lot of people might say this is too much tamasha and all that, but by and large, it just captured the imagination of the entire...
It's the most preferred form of cricket viewing
And
today.
then not only captured the imagination of Indians and Pakistanis of the subcontinent, but the entire world because of the drama. So ultimately, and this is my point, we'll talk about the motorcade that they had
Yes.
when they came back.
Yes.
This is my point, that a lot of people, even it happened in the IPL first few seasons, the controversies apart, but the kind of conservative or the traditional followers of the sport, they were so disdainful of the cheerleaders and the razzmatazz, and say, this is, I mean, how can you degrade a very sober, magnificent
Gentleman's game.
like cricket? But I think that even now when you look at it, they all exist, but the attention is now on what's happening on the field.
Right.
And that was always how it was meant to be. This was part of the embellishment,
And it was more from a fan engagement point of
Correct.
view, wasn't it?
It was tadka, as we put
Right,
on Indian dishes. So,
right.
you know, the garnish which just gives it that
tempering,
little,
yes.
a tempering which gives it that little extra flavor.
Correct.
But if the basic ingredients are wrong,
I mean, it's a no-brainer,
you
right?
know, it's unsavory.
Correct.
So I think that's what's come through. But just to go back to the tournament, you know, it transfixed the entire country. It just moved India. It made, you know, every victory in sports is treated with such joy in India, and especially in cricket. We've
Right.
seen that happen.
Of course.
In 83 when we won the World Cup. In 85 when we won the World Championship of Cricket in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 85 again when we won the Rothmans Cup in Sharjah.
Yes.
We beat Pakistan in the final there.
Yes.
So India-Pakistan matches, yes, and India winning a tournament is, it just
Takes it to another
passion
level. Yeah,
overflows. And when they came back, obviously you're right, the BCCI wanted to leverage it, and Mr. Sharad Pawar is a maestro at that. And, look at it from his point of view. He's just trying to, obviously the BCCI had to spend a lot of money by rewarding these players.
Yes.
And rewarded them handsomely.
Handsomely indeed.
But it also just captured for the next few days every headline that was there in the country, every, prime time discussion, debate, interviews. It just created big stars out of those guys, and the biggest stars were not there. Let's
Right.
not forget that.
Let's not forget that,
The biggest
exactly.
stars of Indian cricket were not in South Africa.
Correct.
But those who came back ended up becoming as big stars, at least
Yeah.
a few of them. Dhoni certainly, Yuvraj Singh for that period of time
Certainly,
certainly.
yes.
And, so it in a sense it was a path-breaking victory for India certainly, but also for the sport. Look what it's done to the sport. In its wake, every country now has got the T20 matches on their
As part of the regular calendar. yes.
calendar. A lot of them are starting leagues. There are issues which have to be addressed, because if all the leagues are played out simultaneously, or not simultaneously, but one after the other,
Yeah, it's all about fitting in the programming.
how do you fit in the ODIs and how
Correct.
do you fit in the test matches? So
Right.
there is some balance which has to be, the balancing act has to be worked out. But India coming back, the motorcade, it was raining in Mumbai, as you might remember, or
Yes,
maybe
of
you were
course.
still in South Africa, I don't know.
No. It was raining. You're right. You're very right
And
on that one.
the open air bus that they got, double-decker bus from
Yes.
the airport to
All
Wankhede.
the way to Wankhede, yes.
And it took 6 or 7 hours.
It just brought the city to an absolute halt.
Absolute halt. And not just the city. Then, everybody sitting, wherever you are in India, sitting and watching this, because it was played out live on television.
Yes.
So people are watching it either on their, wherever they are working, at work, at home, in restaurants, in pubs, in bars, or whatever else.
That victory parade was just the talk of the
Fantastic.
town. Yes.
Fantastic.
But really, it was a concerted effort on the part of the BCCI to hype up that and amplify that win 100 times over, frankly.
Which I think was a smart thing to do.
Yes.
In the old days, you would have thought that the BCCI would rest on its laurels and give some bland statements the next day saying, well played. Maybe give some awards and rewards, yes.
Right.
But to kind of seize,
This kind of
seize the
display and
moment,
outpouring, yeah.
Seize the moment. It
Yeah.
shows a little growing up, understanding what media mileage means.
Right.
Taking it, being proactive and taking an achievement out to the fans rather than saying, we've done our bit, now it's up to the media and the fans to do what they want.
Right.
So in that sense, you have to give them credit for being proactive. And then, not just there, I think what followed immediately after that is of equal relevance. Obviously, we're going to discuss in more detail.
the all-important, yes.
But it triggered off, fast-tracked the ICL and then 100 and the IPL.
The IPL, really.
108 days or 10 days after we had won the World Cup.
In 2007, in September, we won the World Cup.
Correct.
And in January, we had the IPL auctions. So,
We had the IPL auctions.
I think it was just the right impetus for the IPL. Coming in that kind of an environment, it was eagerly sought after and looked at.
So what that World Cup proved, the 2000 World Cup, is that there is massive and immediate acceptance of the format. That was the biggest test. The India's victory apart and India's celebrations apart.
Right.
Where the sport is concerned, the big question mark was whether
the format will work, whether
the format
people will
work.
accept it, yes.
The way the tournament panned out and some great matches and some great performances, everybody lapped it up.
Yes.
Irrespective of whether you were Indian, Sri Lankan, Pakistani, Aussie.
That's true.
English.
Everyone accepted the sport.
So the format became a huge success.
Right.
And then Sone Pe Suhaga, was India beating Pakistan in the last over in the kind of pulsating.
India winning was the icing on the cherry on the cake.
The pulsating climax was something that had, everybody engrossed. So all of this kind of built up this great image or a great
For the
platform
format
or a great platform for the format to really take off. And
Right.
it's not looked back since.
The rest, as they say, is history, isn't it? So, I think it's just been wonderful, and one couldn't have asked for a better script. If one had to write it, it wouldn't have been possible, I think. And
One, in subsequent talks we will discuss, but one guy whose life changed completely after that tournament is Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
of course, he went on to captain the Test team, the ODI team.
I mean, he was catapulted into the captaincy position, and within a year he was
His
captaining.
leadership skills was the new mantra in town, Captain Cool, the innovative captain, the experimentative captain, everything and more. So, yes, the World Cup, the inaugural World Cup, T20 World Cup back in 2007 was magical as it was. It was a turning point for the format of the game. It just took it to another level altogether, and I think it just set the tone for what we're going to talk about next, and that's taken the entire cricketing world across the country and other countries, other test cricket playing countries by storm. Of course, the all-important IPL. But great chatting with you, Ayaz. So happy to have you here at the Cricketwala Chronicles with Ayaz. Signing off for the day, Pooja from the Fan Garage.
Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you. Cricketwala Chronicles is available on iTunes, Audioboom, YouTube, the IVM Podcast app, and many other podcasting apps that you may like.
Hey man, just help me out, man. I need some podcasts, man. I haven't had a fix in a week. Just need some.
Don't you worry about it. I got podcasts galore for you, man. Just go to ivmpodcast.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna check it out.